talk about The Purge.
This is set in 9 years' time, actually. Yeah, I'm just getting my maths right. In 9 years' time, in the year 2022, America's government has adopted a radical new policy on crime. So once a year, they have what they call Purge Night. And on Purge Night, anyone can commit murder and get away with it. Now, there are some rules about what weapons you can use and you can't attack politicians. But the theory is, in this film, if you have one night where anyone can do pretty much anything and get it out of their system, then the rest of the year will be calmer and quieter and less violent. In the film, this is referred to as releasing the beast.
Oh, goodness me.
And we learn, actually, in the film that the falling crime figures back this up. So despite the dubious morality of the whole thing, the affluent middle classes love Purge Night because they have the money to secure their homes so that they're not attacked, and they see people who they consider to be the dregs of society wiped out once a year. Ethan Hawke stars in this. He plays one of those middle-class guys who is very content with the whole situation. In fact, he sells security systems, so he has made a lot of money out of this new controversial policy. So he settles down with his family in their very secure home for another Purge Night.
Why don't you guys do it?
Because we don't feel the need to, Charlie. That's all.
So if you felt the need to, you would kill someone tonight?
Look, I know this is difficult to understand at your age, but tonight allows people a release for all the hatred and violence and aggression that they keep up inside them. Okay? And yes, if your mother and I were so inclined, we would participate because it works. You don't remember how bad it was, Charlie. The poverty, all the crime. This night saved our country.
Surprisingly, things don't all go to plan.
Funny that.
It's a little under 90 minutes, this, but again, another film with a lot going on. It's a film about privilege, about communities, about prejudice, about American politics, obviously about repressed violence. Somehow, despite all packing all that stuff in and feeling like a mix of actually quite art house stuff on the one hand, sort of like Battle Royale or a Michael Haneke film or something, very confrontational filmmaking, and on the other hand feeling a bit like a big dumb action movie, a Die Hard kind of film. Even though it has those two things going on, it does work. And it works because it just goes for it. It is a brutal film. It doesn't flinch. At its best, it's really, really unsettling, actually. And it's a great bit of casting to get Ethan Hawke, because so often Ethan Hawke, although actually, I actually really like him, he's quite wet in some of his films, isn't he? He's a bit willowy, a bit sensitive in his films sometimes.
Give us more.
But in this, he's brassy and brash, and he's got his hair slicked back, and he's got the salesman patter. So it's a lovely bit of casting. He's actually worked with the director before on the remake of Assault on Precinct 13, and he's good in this. On the downside, there is a little bit too much of what we call Basil exposition. There's a little bit too much of people explaining the situation. Well, actually, we heard it in that clip.
Kind of signposting.
Or just explaining the whole Purge thing. And, you hear it once and you get it, but they explain it several times. But on the whole, I think it is a film that is the missing link, really, between Michael Haneke and Michael Bay. I mean, they're two very different people. Michael Bay actually produced this. Two very different styles of filmmaking. But in this, they come together and actually they do really work because it just goes for it. It doesn't hold back. And I think that's the key, really, not to be nervous.